I never thought I'd be that wife. You know the one. The woman who checks her husband's phone. The one who feels a cold knot in her stomach every time he smiles at a text message. The one who pretends everything is fine while her world quietly falls apart. But there I was, standing in our marble-floored kitchen, holding my husband's iPad, staring at a confirmation email that made my hands shake. Congratulations! Your romantic Paris getaway for two is confirmed. April 15th to 22nd. We can't wait to welcome you and your companion to the city of love. The city of love, how poetic, how absolutely crushing. My name is Charlotte. I'm 34 years old, and up until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had the perfect life. A beautiful home in the suburbs. A successful husband named Marcus who ran his own investment firm. We'd been married for 9 years. No kids yet, but we were trying. Or at least, I thought we were trying. Marcus told me 2 months ago that he had an important business conference in Singapore. 7 days, big clients, major deals. He seemed stressed about it, so I supported him. I packed his bags. I ironed his shirts. I kissed him goodbye at the door and told him I'd miss him. He never went to Singapore. Let me take you back to how I found out. It was a regular Wednesday afternoon. I was working from home, designing layouts for my interior design clients, when Marcus called me, sounding rushed. Hey babe, I left my iPad at home. I'm in back-to-back meetings all day. Can you just check if I got an email from Gerald Hutchinson? It should have contract attachments. Can you download them and send them to my phone? Sure, no problem, I said, not thinking twice about it. I opened his iPad. No password between us. That's what trust looks like, right? Or maybe that's what a fool looks like. I went to his email and searched for Gerald Hutchinson. Nothing recent, but my eyes caught something else. A folder I'd never noticed before, labeled Travel Personal. Personal travel? We hadn't taken a vacation in over a year. Marcus always said he was too busy, too many responsibilities, too much at stake with the company. Curiosity isn't always a sin. Sometimes it's survival instinct. I clicked the folder. That's when I saw it, not just the Paris confirmation. There were hotel bookings, 2 first-class tickets on Air France, dinner reservations at restaurants I'd only dreamed about visiting, a couple's spa package, a private evening cruise on the Seine. For 2 people. April 15th was next week. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I scrolled further. Then I found the thread of messages, transferred from his phone, with a contact saved as L. Chen Intern. The messages made me feel sick. Can't wait to show you Paris. You're going to love it. I've never been. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Marcus. I still can't believe it. You deserve it. You've worked so hard. Plus, I enjoy your company. I enjoy yours too, more than I probably should. Followed by a blushing emoji, a heart emoji. I sat down before my legs gave out. Smash that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, because what I'm about to tell you next will show you exactly how far a betrayed woman will go when she's pushed too far. L. Chen, I knew exactly who that was. Lauren Chen, 23 years old, fresh out of college, bright-eyed, beautiful, with that effortless kind of youth that made me feel ancient even though I wasn't even 35 yet. Marcus hired her 6 months ago as a junior analyst. He'd mentioned her a few times. Smart girl, hard worker, real potential. Real potential, right. I felt like I couldn't breathe. The house suddenly felt too big, too empty, too cold despite the spring warmth outside. I kept reading. There were weeks of messages, compliments, inside jokes, late-night texts about work that didn't sound like work at all. You still up? Yeah, thinking about the presentation, and other things. What other things? Just things I probably shouldn't say to my boss. Good thing I'm not just your boss anymore. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the iPad against the wall and watch it shatter into 1,000 pieces just like my heart. But I didn't. Instead, something cold and clear settled over me. I took screenshots, every single message, every receipt, every confirmation. Then I answered Marcus's original question. I sent him a text. No email from Gerald. Are you sure he sent it? His reply came instantly. My mistake. Must be in my main inbox. Don't worry about it. Love you. Love you. 2 words that used to mean everything. Now they just felt like lies wrapped in routine. I spent the rest of that day in a fog. I made dinner. I set the table. When Marcus came home, I kissed his cheek like I always did. He smiled at me, loosened his tie, and asked how my day was. Quiet, I said. Yours. Exhausting. Clients are demanding, but that's the job. He ate the salmon I'd prepared. He complimented my cooking. He told me about a problem with one of his accounts, some technical issue I barely absorbed because all I could think about was him and her. In Paris. In the city I'd begged him to take me to for our anniversary 3 years running. Maybe next year, he'd always said, when things calmed down. Things were apparently calm enough now, just not for me. That night, lying beside him in our king-sized bed, I stared at the ceiling and made a decision. I wasn't going to confront him, not yet. I wasn't going to cry or beg or ask him why I wasn't enough. I was going to be smart, patient, strategic. Because here's what Marcus didn't know about me. I wasn't just some housewife he could discard for a newer model. Before I met him, I put myself through design school while working 2 jobs. I built my own client base from nothing. I was resourceful. I was tough. And I was about to remind him exactly who he married. Over the next few days, I played the perfect wife. I smiled. I laughed at his jokes. I asked about his day. And in the quiet moments when he was in the shower or at the gym, I did my research. I looked up Lauren Chen. Her social media was private, but her LinkedIn told me enough. University of Chicago, Dean's List. Internship at Marcus's firm starting last October. Before that, she'd worked part-time at her family's business. Her family's business. That detail felt important, though I didn't know why yet. I also hired someone. A private investigator named Rita, a woman in her 50s who came highly recommended by a college friend who'd gone through her own messy divorce. Rita didn't judge. She just listened as I explained everything, then nodded. I'll get you what you need, she said. Photos, timeline, details. If there's more you don't know about, I'll find it. There's more, I asked, my stomach dropping. There usually is, honey, she said, not unkindly. Men like this don't usually start with Paris. She was right. 3 days later, Rita called me. I was in my car, parked outside a fabric supplier when my phone buzzed. Charlotte, we need to meet, Rita said. I have the information, but you're going to want to sit down for this. We met at a quiet coffee shop 30 minutes outside town, a place where nobody knew me, where I could fall apart if I needed to without becoming neighborhood gossip. Rita slid a manila folder across the table. It was thick. I'm sorry, she said first. I always hate this part of my job. I opened the folder. The first thing I saw was a photo of Marcus and Lauren. They were at a restaurant, an intimate little table by the window. His hand was on top of hers. She was laughing. He was looking at her the way he used to look at me. The date stamp on the photo was from 3 weeks ago. Keep going, Rita said gently. There were more photos. Marcus picking Lauren up from her apartment. The 2 of them walking into a boutique hotel downtown. Time stamps showed he'd been there for hours. This wasn't just emotional. This was a full-blown affair. But that wasn't the worst part. Rita had also pulled phone records, credit card statements. Marcus had been spending thousands of dollars on Lauren, jewelry, dinners, a weekend trip to Napa Valley that he'd told me was a guy's golf weekend. There's something else, Rita said, watching my face carefully. I dug into Lauren's background like you asked. And her father is Richard Chen. The name hit me like cold water. Richard Chen, the Richard Chen who owns Chen Industries. Rita nodded. Real estate development, hotels, investment properties all over the country. He's worth about $400 million, give or take. My mind raced. So she's not just some struggling intern, she's an heiress. Exactly, and here's where it gets interesting. Rita pulled out another document. Chen Industries has been in talks to acquire smaller firms in the investment sector. Marcus's firm would be a perfect target. It's profitable, well-run, but small enough to absorb. The realization hit me hard. You think this is strategic? You think she's, what, seducing Marcus for a business deal? Rita shrugged. Maybe. Or maybe it started as business and became personal. Or maybe your husband is just a fool who thinks a young, rich, beautiful woman is interested in him for his sparkling personality. I would have laughed if it didn't hurt so much. There's one more thing, Rita said. She looked uncomfortable now. I found some text messages, recent ones, between Lauren and someone saved in her phone as Dad. She showed me her phone. She'd somehow gotten access to Lauren's messages. I didn't ask how. I didn't want to know. The message from Lauren read, "He's taking me to Paris next week. I think he's really falling for me. This is going exactly like you said it would." Her father's response, "Good girl, keep him interested. Once we have the firm, you can move on to the next target. Business is business." I felt sick, physically sick. "So she's conning him," I whispered. "Her father is using her to get to Marcus's company." "Looks that way," Rita said. "Though Marcus isn't exactly an innocent victim here. He's still a married man taking his intern to Paris." She was right. Marcus was absolutely guilty. But now there were layers to this betrayal I hadn't anticipated. My husband was throwing away our marriage for a woman who was literally using him as a business pawn. Part of me wanted to laugh at the irony. Part of me wanted to warn him. But a bigger part of me, the part that had been humiliated and lied to, wanted to watch it all burn. "What are you going to do?" Rita asked. I looked at the photos again, at my husband's face, so happy with another woman, at the receipts showing money that should have been ours spent on her, at the evidence of lies stacked so high I could barely see over them. "I don't know yet," I said, "but I'm not going to just roll over and let them destroy me." That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I started looking into our finances in detail. Marcus handled most of our money. He was the finance expert, after all. I'd always trusted him to manage our investments, our savings, our future. What I found made the affair look almost forgivable by comparison. Our joint savings account, the one that had over $200,000 in it last time I checked a year ago, was nearly empty. 43,000 left. The rest had been transferred out in chunks over the past 6 months. Our retirement accounts, also significantly reduced. He'd taken out a second mortgage on our house without telling me. Another $150,000 gone into some investment account I didn't recognize. I sat at our home office desk, papers spread everywhere, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under me. It wasn't just infidelity. Marcus had been bleeding us dry. For what? For Lauren? For her father's scheme? Or was there something else I still didn't know about? My phone rang. It was my best friend, Simone. She was the only person I'd told about the affair, and she'd been calling every day to check on me. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "I found out it's worse than we thought," I said, and I told her everything. The money, the scheme, all of it. Simone was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Charlotte, you need a lawyer. Like yesterday, this isn't just about your heart anymore. He's stealing from you." I know, I need to think, I need a plan." "What kind of plan?" "I don't know yet, but I'm not letting him take everything. I'm not letting either of them win." After I hung up, I sat in the darkness of the office, the only light coming from the computer screen. Marcus was in the living room, watching TV, probably texting Lauren, planning their romantic Parisian adventure. He had no idea I knew, no idea what was coming. And then an idea started forming. It was risky, maybe crazy, but it was the only way I could see to save myself and maybe, just maybe, make them all pay for what they'd done. I picked up my phone and called Rita back. "I need you to find me a way to contact Richard Chen," I said. "Directly, not through his office, not through official channels. I need to talk to the man himself." Rita hesitated. "Charlotte, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that if his daughter is playing games, Maybe her father should know exactly what kind of person his business partner is about to become. Maybe he should know that Marcus is married, that he's taking his daughter on romantic getaways while he has a wife at home. You want to expose the affair to her father? I want to have a conversation, I said carefully. One parent, too, potential future parent, see what happens. It took Rita 2 days, but she came through. She found a private email address, a direct line that bypassed assistants and secretaries. She also found out that Richard Chen was surprisingly old-fashioned about family values, at least publicly. He gave speeches about integrity and honor. He'd built his business on his reputation. I wondered how he'd feel knowing his daughter was being used as bait in a corporate scheme, or if he even cared. There was only one way to find out. I must have written that email 20 different times. Each version felt wrong, too angry, too desperate, too formal, too emotional. Finally, I settled on simple and direct. Dear Mr. Chen, my name is Charlotte Pierce. You don't know me, but I believe you know my husband, Marcus Pierce, through your daughter Lauren, who works at his firm. I'm writing to you because I've recently discovered that your daughter and my husband are planning a trip to Paris together next week. I'm sure you can imagine how I felt discovering this. I'm not writing to cause trouble or make accusations. I'm writing because I believe there are things happening that neither of us may fully understand, and I think we should talk. Parent to parent, person to person. If you're willing, I'd like to meet with you privately before this situation becomes something none of us can control. Respectfully, Charlotte Pierce. I attached one photo. Not a damning one, just Marcus and Lauren at a business dinner, sitting close, his attention completely focused on her. Enough to prove I wasn't making things up. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then I waited. Marcus was packing for Singapore the next day. I watched him fold expensive shirts, pack cologne I'd given him for Christmas, choose ties I'd helped him pick out. The mundane intimacy of it all felt like a betrayal in itself. You'll be okay while I'm gone, he asked, kissing my forehead. Of course, I lied. I'll miss you, though. 7 days is a long time. I know, baby, but this deal is huge. If it goes through, it could change everything for us. Change everything. He had no idea how right he was. Maybe when you get back, we could plan a vacation, I said, testing him. Just the two of us. We haven't done that in so long. Something flickered across his face. Guilt, maybe, or annoyance at the complication. Definitely, he said. Let's plan something for summer, anywhere you want. Paris, I suggested, my voice light. He barely hesitated. Sure, Paris sounds great. The ease of his lie was almost impressive. That night I checked my email obsessively. Nothing from Richard Chen. Maybe he hadn't seen it. Maybe he didn't care. Maybe I'd made a huge mistake. But at 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with a new message. Mrs. Pierce, your email concerns me greatly. I was not aware of any Paris trip, nor would I approve of the situation you've described. I think you're right that we should speak directly. Are you available to meet tomorrow afternoon? I'll send a car to pick you up from a location of your choosing. This matter requires discretion and urgency. Richard Chen. My hands shook as I read it. This was real. This was happening. I wrote back immediately, giving him the address of a shopping center near my house. Professional, public, safe. His response came within minutes. 2 p.m. The car will be a black Mercedes. Driver will have ID. See you soon. I barely slept that night. Marcus snored softly beside me, completely unaware that his world was about to implode. Part of me felt guilty for going behind his back like this, but then I remembered the photos, the receipts, the empty bank accounts, the lies. He'd made his choice. Now I was making mine. The next morning, Marcus left for the airport. He kissed me goodbye, told me he loved me, promised to call when he landed in Singapore. Safe travels, I said, hugging him tight one last time, breathing in the familiar scent of his cologne, mourning the man I thought he was. Then he was gone, and I was alone with my racing thoughts and my dangerous plan. At 1:45 p.m., I was standing outside the shopping center, dressed in a simple navy dress and heels, professional but not trying too hard. I felt like I might throw up. At exactly 2 p.m., a black Mercedes pulled up. The driver, a serious-looking man in a suit, stepped out and approached me. "Mrs. Pierce, I'll need to see your ID, please." I showed him my license. He nodded, verified something on his phone, then opened the back door for me. "Mr. Chen is waiting at his private office. It's a 30-minute drive." I got in the car, my heart pounding. This was it. No turning back now. The drive took us out of the suburbs and into the city to a high-rise building in the financial district. We didn't go to the main entrance. Instead, the driver took me to a private garage, then to a private elevator that required a key card. Everything about this screamed power and money. I felt out of my depth, but I forced myself to stand straight, chin up. I belonged here. I had every right to fight for my life, my marriage, my future. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Modern furniture, expensive art, everything precisely placed. And standing by the window, looking out at the skyline, was Richard Chen. He was older than I expected, maybe early 60s, with silver hair and a sharp, intelligent face. He wore an impeccable suit and an expression that gave nothing away. He turned when I entered. "Mrs. Pierce," he said, his voice measured and calm. "Thank you for coming. Please sit." He gestured to a seating area with leather chairs and a low table. I sat, trying to look more confident than I felt. He sat across from me, studying my face with an intensity that made me want to look away. But I didn't. I met his gaze. "You're very brave," he said finally. "Or very desperate, I haven't decided which." "Maybe both," I admitted. A slight smile touched his lips, gone almost instantly. "Tell me everything, from the beginning, don't leave anything out." So I did. I told him about finding the emails, about the affair, about the money Marcus had been spending and hiding. I told him about the private investigator, about the photos, about the text messages between Lauren and him about using Marcus. At that last part, his expression darkened. "Show me," he said. I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshots Rita had obtained. He read them carefully, his jaw tightening. When he finished, he handed my phone back and stood, walking back to the window. He was quiet for a long moment. "I did not write those messages," he said finally. My stomach dropped. "What?" He turned to face me. "Someone is impersonating me. I have no plans to acquire your husband's firm. I have no interest in the investment sector at that level, and I certainly would never use my daughter as some kind of corporate honey trap." I stared at him, my mind reeling. "But the messages. May I see them again?" I showed him my phone once more. He looked at the number, then pulled out his own phone and made a call. "Lauren, where are you right now?" His voice was sharp. "Don't lie to me. Are you at work? Good. Stay there. I'm sending someone to pick you up. We need to talk. No, right now, I don't care about your meeting. This is more important." He hung up and looked at me. "Mrs. Pierce, I think we're both victims of something bigger than either of us realized, and I think it's time we got to the bottom of it together." My head was spinning. "I don't understand." "Neither do I, not yet, but I will." He pressed a button on his phone. "Send the team to Lauren's apartment. I want her phone records, computer, everything. And get me everything we have on Marcus Pierce and his firm." He looked at me, and for the first time, his expression softened slightly. "I'm sorry you're going through this, Mrs. Pierce. Truly, I know what betrayal feels like. But I promise you this, we're going to find out exactly what's happening, and whoever is responsible is going to pay. All of them." Something in his tone made me believe him. And that's when I realized I hadn't just made an ally, I'd potentially started a war. Richard Chen's office became a war room within the hour. 3 of his people arrived, a lawyer, a tech specialist, and a woman he introduced as his head of security. They moved with military precision, setting up laptops, making calls, gathering information. I sat there feeling surreal, like I'd stepped into someone else's life. This morning I was just a betrayed wife. Now I was sitting in a billionaire's office planning. What exactly? I wasn't even sure anymore. Mrs. Pierce, I need you to walk me through your husband's business, Richard said, sitting across from me again while his team worked. How well do you know his company structure? Fairly well, I think. He started the firm 8 years ago, a year before we got married. He has 12 employees now. They handle private investments, wealth management for high net worth clients. Annual revenue. I told him what I knew. Richard's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. That's substantially higher than the public filings suggest, he said. What do you mean? He turned his laptop toward me, showing me documents I didn't fully understand. Your husband's firm reports one set of numbers to the government, but based on the client list my team just pulled, the actual revenue should be nearly double that. My mouth went dry. Are you saying he's committing fraud? I'm saying the numbers don't add up, which means either there's money being hidden or there's money being funneled somewhere it shouldn't be going. Before I could process that, the door opened and a young woman walked in, escorted by Richard's security person. It was Lauren Chen. She looked confused and annoyed until she saw me. Then her face went pale. Dad, what's going on? Who is she? Sit down, Lauren, Richard said, his voice cold in a way that made even me uncomfortable. Lauren sat, her eyes darting between us. I don't understand. This is Charlotte Pierce, Marcus Pierce's wife. The color drained completely from Lauren's face. His, what? I watched her carefully. Either she was an incredible actress, or she genuinely didn't know Marcus was married. Don't play games, Lauren, Richard said sharply. I've seen the messages. I know about Paris. I know about the affair. What I don't know is why you're involved in some scheme to acquire his company using my name. I'm not, Dad. I don't know what you're talking about. What messages? Richard's tech specialist spoke up. Mr. Chen, I've accessed her phone records. The number those text messages came from isn't registered to you. It's a burner phone, purchased 6 months ago with cash. Richard's expression hardened further. He looked at Lauren. Who have you been talking to? Who's been giving you instructions? No one, Dad, I swear, I don't know what this is about. Yes, I'm seeing Marcus, but... She looked at me, guilt and defiance mixing on her face. I didn't know he was married. He told me he was divorced. Of course he did, I said, my voice colder than I intended. I'm telling the truth, Lauren's voice rose. He never wore a ring, he never mentioned a wife. He said he lived alone, that he'd been single for 2 years. Her voice cracked. I thought he loved me. There was something genuine in her pain that made me hate this situation even more. We were both his victims, just in different ways. The Paris trip, Richard said. Who planned it? Marcus did. He said he wanted to take me somewhere special, that I deserved it after working so hard. I thought it was romantic. I didn't know. She looked at me again, tears now streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, I really didn't know. I wanted to hate her. It would have been so much easier to hate her. But looking at her young, devastated face, I mostly felt tired. Someone's been manipulating both of you, Richard said. Using my name, using my daughter, targeting your husband's business. The question is who and why. His lawyer spoke up. Mr. Chen, I found something. There's been a recent inquiry about acquiring Pierce Investments. It came through one of our subsidiary companies, but I didn't authorize it. The paperwork has a forged signature. From who? The lawyer hesitated. Your brother, sir. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Thomas, Richard said, the name sounding like a curse. Lauren looked shocked. Uncle Thomas, but he's family, he wouldn't. Your Uncle Thomas has been trying to undermine me for 20 years, Richard said flatly. He's tried corporate sabotage, stock manipulation, even lawsuits. All failed. This is just his latest attempt. He turned to me. Mrs. Pierce, I apologize. You've been caught in the middle of a family war you had nothing to do with. My brother must have seen your husband's firm as an easy target, small enough to acquire, valuable enough to hurt me when it became a scandal. I don't understand, I said. How does ruining my marriage hurt you? Because he's using my daughter. When this comes out, and he'd make sure it came out, it would look like I sent Lauren to seduce a married man for business gain. My reputation would be destroyed. The press would have a field day. My business relationships, built on trust and integrity, would crumble. It was diabolical, and Marcus and I were just collateral damage. But Marcus is still guilty, I said quietly. He's still the one who chose to have an affair, who chose to steal from our accounts, who chose to lie to both of us. Richard nodded. Yes, he is, and that's what gave my brother the opening he needed. He found a weak man and exploited that weakness. He stood and began packing. Here's what I propose, Mrs. Pierce. You want justice for what your husband did. I want to protect my daughter and stop my brother. I think we can help each other. How? Let them go to Paris. Let Marcus think everything is going according to plan. Meanwhile, my team and I will dig into his finances, find out exactly what he's been doing with your money and his company's money. We gather evidence. Then, when they return, we confront them with everything, publicly if necessary. And your brother? Richard's smile was sharp and cold. Leave Thomas to me. By the time I'm done, he'll wish he'd never heard the name Pierce. I thought about it. Let Marcus go to Paris with Lauren, thinking he was getting away with it. It would hurt, but it would also give me time to prepare, to gather ammunition, to plan my next move. What about Lauren? I asked, looking at the young woman who sat quietly crying. Lauren will cooperate, Richard said firmly. She'll go on the trip. She'll act normal. She'll wear a wire and document everything Marcus says and does. Won't you, Lauren? Lauren looked horrified. Dad, I can't. You can and you will. You made choices that hurt this woman, even if you didn't know the full situation. You'll help make it right, and you'll help me take down your uncle before he destroys this family. The steel in his voice left no room for argument. Lauren looked at me, mascara running down her cheeks. I really am sorry, Mrs. Pierce, if I'd known. But you didn't ask, I said, not unkindly but not softly either. You're 23 years old, dating a man in his 40s, and you never thought to question why he was so secretive, why you never saw his home, why he was always available. She flinched but nodded. You're right, I was stupid. I really thought he cared about me. He cares about himself, I said. We both learned that the hard way. Richard checked his watch. Marcus's flight leaves in 3 hours, correct? Yes, I said. He thinks he's going to Singapore. No, he's going to Paris. I had my assistant check. His real flight is Air France to Charles de Gaulle, departing at 6 p.m. Lauren, you're on that flight too, aren't you? She nodded miserably. Then you need to go home, pack, and act like nothing is wrong. When you see Marcus at the airport, you be the excited young girlfriend. You smile, you laugh, you make him feel like the luckiest man alive. Can you do that? Lauren took a shaky breath. I'll try. Don't try, do it. Your future depends on it. My patience depends on it. After Lauren left, escorted by security, Richard turned to me. You're taking a huge risk trusting me, he said. We met 2 hours ago. For all you know, I could be part of the problem. Are you? I asked. No, but you're still taking my word for it. I thought about that. I don't have many options right now. My husband has betrayed me, stolen from me, and is about to leave the country with another woman. I can either fall apart or I can fight back. You're offering me a way to fight back. I am, but I'm also using you in a way. Your husband is a pawn in my brother's game, but exposing him helps me. You should know that. I appreciated the honesty. As long as Marcus faces consequences for what he's done, I don't care if it also helps you. Richard extended his hand. Then we have an agreement. I shook his hand. His grip was firm, businesslike. What do you need me to do? Go home, act normal. If Marcus calls from Paris, be the loving wife. Be supportive. Don't let on that you know anything. Meanwhile, give my team access to everything, your financial records, his computer if he left it, any passwords you have. Let us build the case. And then, when he comes home thinking he got away with it, we destroy him. Marcus called me that evening from the airport. I was sitting in our living room with a glass of wine, Richard Chen's lawyer and tech specialist in our home office downloading files from Marcus's computer. "Hey baby, just boarding now," Marcus said. I could hear the bustle of the airport behind him. "It's a long flight to Singapore, so I probably won't call again until I land." Singapore, the lie rolled off his tongue so easily. "Okay, be safe," I said, keeping my voice warm and wifey. "I love you." "Love you too. I'll bring you back something nice." He hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, wondering how many other times he'd lied with such practiced ease. Mrs. Pierce, the tech specialist, a young woman named Maya, appeared in the doorway. "We found something you need to see." I followed her to the office. On Marcus's computer screen was a file labeled "New Accounts Confidential." "What is it?" "Offshore accounts, 3 of them, in the Cayman Islands." Maya clicked through screens showing numbers that made my head spin. "There's over $1 million spread across them." $1 million, I felt faint. "From where?" The lawyer, a stern woman named Patricia, answered. "From what we can tell, he's been skimming from client accounts. Small amounts from each one, spread out over time so no single client would notice. It all gets funneled through various business expenses, then moved offshore." "He's been embezzling." The word felt foreign in my mouth. "Yes, and he's been doing it for at least 3 years." I sat down hard. The affair was one thing. This was something else entirely. This was criminal. "There's more," Maya said quietly. "We found communication between Marcus and Thomas Chen. They've been working together." She showed me emails. Marcus had known exactly who Lauren's uncle was. Thomas had approached him 8 months ago with a proposal. Help create a scandal involving Richard Chen's daughter, allow Thomas to acquire the firm at a discount, and Marcus would walk away with enough money to disappear and start over somewhere else. Lauren was never part of the plan. She was just an innocent pawn like me. But Marcus wasn't innocent. He'd engineered the whole thing. He'd pursued Lauren specifically because she was Richard Chen's daughter. He'd created the affair, planned the Paris trip, all while stealing money to fund his eventual escape. "He was going to leave you," Patricia said gently. "These emails suggest he planned to file for divorce after Paris, claim irreconcilable differences, hide the offshore money, and walk away clean." I couldn't breathe. The room felt too small. 9 years of marriage, 9 years of my life, and he'd been planning to discard me like I was nothing. "Mrs. Pierce, are you all right?" Maya asked. "No," I said honestly, "but I will be." I called Richard Chen. He answered immediately. "They're in the air," he said. "Lauren sent me a text before takeoff. She's wired. We'll get audio of everything." "I know about Thomas," I said. "Your team found the emails. Marcus was working with your brother from the beginning." Richard was quiet for a moment. "I suspected as much, but I hoped I was wrong. Thomas has many faults, but using his own niece, that's low even for him." "What are we going to do?" "Right now, we gather evidence. By the time that plane lands in Paris, I'll have enough to bury both of them, Marcus and Thomas. The question is, what do you want to happen to your husband?" What did I want? A week ago, I wanted my marriage to work. I wanted the fairy tale back. Now, I want him to face consequences, I said. Real ones, for the affair, for the theft, for all of it. Legal consequences or personal ones? Both. Then that's what you'll get. I promise you that. Over the next week, my life became surreal. During the day, I worked on design projects, met with clients, pretended everything was normal. At night, I met with Richard's team, reviewing evidence, planning strategy. Marcus called twice from Paris. Both times he lied about being in Singapore. Both times he told me he loved me. Both times I wanted to scream the truth at him, but I didn't. I played my part. Richard sent me updates. Lauren was doing her job. The Wire was capturing everything. Marcus was romantic, attentive, saying things to Lauren that he used to say to me. Each update felt like a knife, but I welcomed the pain. It kept me focused, angry. On the 4th day of the trip, Richard called me at 10 p.m. "You need to come to my office. Now, there's been a development." I drove to the city in a daze. When I arrived, Richard looked grim. Lauren was there too, via video call from Paris. Her eyes were red. "What happened?" I asked. "Tell her," Richard said to Lauren. Lauren's voice shook. "Tonight at dinner, Marcus had too much wine. He started talking about the future, our future together, he said. He said after we got back, he was going to divorce his wife, that you were holding him back, that he'd been planning this for months. And then..." She stopped, crying too hard to continue. "And then what?" I pressed. Richard answered for her. He told Lauren about the offshore accounts. He said he'd been securing their future by moving money where you couldn't touch it. He asked her to come with him to the Caribbean after the divorce to start a new life. I felt numb, so he was going to run away with her. "He also told her about working with my brother," Richard continued, his voice tight with controlled rage. "He thought she knew. He thought she was part of the scheme. When she acted confused, he realized his mistake. He became angry, suspicious. He accused her of setting him up." "Are you safe?" I asked Lauren directly. She nodded. "I'm in my hotel room now. Marcus is in his room down the hall. He's been calling me, but I haven't answered. I'm scared, Mrs. Pierce. I don't know what to do." "You come home," Richard said firmly. "I'm sending my plane. It'll be there in 6 hours. You pack your things, you leave the hotel, and you get on that plane. I'll have security escort you." "What about Marcus?" "Marcus can find his own way home," Richard said coldly. "And when he does, he's going to find a very different world waiting for him." After Lauren hung up, Richard looked at me. "Are you ready for this? Once we move, there's no going back." "What exactly are we doing?" "Tomorrow, I'm filing a complaint with the SEC about the embezzlement. I'm also contacting the families of Marcus's clients to inform them of the theft. Simultaneously, I'm exposing Thomas's scheme to the board of Chen Industries. He'll be removed and likely prosecuted. And Marcus will be arrested when he returns to the country. The evidence is overwhelming. He's looking at serious prison time." Prison, my husband in prison. A month ago, the idea would have been unthinkable. Now it felt like justice. "There's one more thing," Richard said. "The divorce. You need to file immediately before he can hide anything else. Patricia has drawn up papers. They'll be served to him when he lands." "It's really over," I whispered. "The marriage is over," Richard agreed. "But your life, that's just beginning. You're stronger than you think, Charlotte. You've handled all of this with remarkable grace." I didn't feel graceful. I felt shattered. But maybe shattered things could be rebuilt into something new, something stronger. "Do it," I said. "All of it. I want him to know exactly what he's lost." Richard nodded. "My team will need you to sign some documents. And Charlotte, you might want to prepare yourself. When this goes public, and it will, the media attention will be intense." "I don't care," I said. "Let them talk. I'm done hiding his secrets." Marcus came home 3 days later. His flight landed at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. I wasn't there to pick him up, even though he'd texted asking if I could. I told him I had a client meeting, another lie to add to the mountain between us. What I was actually doing was sitting in Patricia's law office, signing divorce papers. "These are aggressive," Patricia warned me. "We're asking for everything, the house, the legitimate assets, spousal support, and damages for emotional distress. Given the evidence of infidelity and financial fraud, you'll likely get most of it, but he will fight back." "Let him fight," I said, signing my name with a steady hand. "I have nothing left to lose." Marcus didn't know it yet, but his world had already started crumbling. That morning, the SEC had frozen his accounts. Federal investigators had shown up at his office, seizing computers and files. His clients had been notified of the embezzlement and were threatening lawsuits. Thomas Chen was in even worse shape. Richard had moved like a hurricane through his brother's life, exposing every dirty deal, every shady transaction. By noon, Thomas had been removed from the board of Chen Industries and was facing multiple criminal charges. The local news was already running the story. Investment firm owner accused of massive fraud, linked to Chen family scandal. I watched the broadcast from Patricia's office. They showed Marcus's photo, his professional headshot, the one where he looked successful and trustworthy. The irony wasn't lost on me. My phone rang. It was Marcus. Should I answer? I asked Patricia. Speaker phone, she said. Let's hear what he has to say. I answered, hello. Charlotte, what the hell is going on? Marcus's voice was panicked, nothing like his usual controlled tone. There were federal agents at my office. My accounts are frozen. What happened while I was gone? I could ask you the same thing, I said calmly. How was Singapore, Marcus? Get a lot of business done. Silence, then quietly, you know. I know everything. The affair, the embezzlement, the offshore accounts. Thomas Chen, all of it. Charlotte, listen to me. No, you listen. My voice was steel now. I'm filing for divorce. You'll be served at home today. I want you out of the house by tonight. You can stay in one of those hotels you like taking Lauren to. This is insane. You can't just. I can. I have evidence of everything, Marcus. Everything. Photos, bank statements, emails, even recordings from Paris. Did you really think you'd get away with this? Another long silence. I could almost hear him calculating, trying to find an angle. We can work this out, he said, switching tactics. Whatever you think happened, I can explain. The business stuff, that's just a misunderstanding. The accounting is complicated. And Lauren, that was a mistake. A stupid mistake. I love you, Charlotte. Only you. We can fix this. I almost laughed. Almost. Marcus, you told your mistress 4 days ago that you were going to divorce me and run away to the Caribbean with her. Don't insult me by lying now. How do you? He stopped. You've been spying on me. I've been protecting myself from you. There's a difference. Charlotte, please. Now his voice turned desperate. Don't do this. We can start over. I'll make it right. I'll do anything. You should have thought of that before you betrayed me. Before you stole from me. Before you threw away 9 years for a woman young enough to be your daughter and a pile of illegal money. I'm your husband. Not for long. Sign the papers, Marcus. It's over. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt something else too. Relief, power, freedom. That was perfect, Patricia said, nodding approvingly. He's scared. Good. Scared people make mistakes. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Richard Chen. Is it done? He asked. He knows, he called. It's done. Thomas knows too. He showed up at my office an hour ago, making threats. I had security remove him. The board has already initiated legal proceedings. He's finished. And Lauren. Safe, home, in therapy actually. This has been traumatic for her too. He paused. She asked me to tell you she's sorry again. I thought about Lauren. So young, so foolish, but ultimately a victim too. Tell her I hope she learns from this. Tell her to be more careful who she trusts. I will, Charlotte. How are you holding up? It was the first time anyone had asked me that today. The first time anyone had checked on me, not the case or the evidence or the strategy, but me. I don't know, I admitted. Ask me again in a few months. Fair enough, if you need anything. Actually, there is something, I said, an idea forming. Your daughter, she needs a job now, right? Since she obviously can't work for Marcus anymore. Yes, I was planning to bring her into one of my companies. Don't, not yet. Let her stand on her own feet. I have some contacts in the business world. Young professionals who run ethical, legitimate companies. I could make some introductions if she's willing to work hard and learn. Richard was quiet for a moment. You do that, after everything. She made mistakes, but she's trying to make amends. And punishing her more doesn't fix what Marcus did. Maybe helping her keeps another woman from getting hurt the way we were. You're a remarkable person, Charlotte Pierce. No, I said. I'm just trying to find meaning in the mess. That evening, I went home. Marcus's car was in the driveway. My stomach clenched, but I walked in anyway. This was my house. He was the one leaving. I found him in the kitchen, sitting at the table, head in his hands. He looked up when I entered. His eyes were red. Charlotte. Are you packing? I interrupted. I need to talk to you first. There's nothing to talk about. He stood desperate. Please, just hear me out 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I nodded. Marcus took a breath. I know I destroyed everything. I know what I did was unforgivable. The affair, the money, all of it. I was stupid and selfish, and I hurt the one person who actually loved me. Is this the part where you expect me to forgive you? No, I know you won't. I need you to understand why. Why you cheated, why you stole. I don't need to understand that. I felt trapped, he said quietly. By the business, by the pressure, by the expectations. Everyone saw me as this successful guy, but inside I was drowning. The company wasn't doing as well as people thought. I made bad investments, lost client money. I was trying to cover it up, fix it, and it just kept getting worse. So you committed fraud. I panicked, and then Thomas approached me with this plan, and it seemed like a way out, a way to reset everything. And Lauren, she made me feel young again, important, like I wasn't failing. But you were failing, I said. And instead of facing it, instead of talking to me, your wife, you decided to blow up our entire lives. I know, and I'm so sorry. I looked at him, this man I'd loved for almost a decade, this stranger wearing my husband's face. I don't accept your apology, I said, and I don't care why you did it. You made choices. Now you face the consequences. They're saying I could go to prison. You will go to prison. The evidence is overwhelming. Charlotte, please, don't let them do this. We can work out the divorce, divide assets, whatever you want, but don't send me to prison. I'm not sending you anywhere. You sent yourself there the moment you decided to steal from people who trusted you. I'm begging you. Marcus, stop. My voice was firm. You're not the victim here. I am. Your clients are. Even Lauren is. You used all of us for your own gain. Now you're going to pay for it. That's how justice works. He sank back into the chair, defeated. I really did love you, I still do. No, you don't. You love what I represented. Stability, respectability, a cover for your crimes, but me, the actual person, you never saw me at all. I left him sitting there and went upstairs to our bedroom, my bedroom now. I pulled out a suitcase and started filling it with his things. 20 minutes later, I brought it downstairs and set it by the front door. You have 1 hour to pack anything else you need. Then I want you gone. If you're not out, I'm calling the police. Marcus looked at the suitcase, then at me. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Charlotte. 59 minutes now. He got up slowly and walked to the stairs. I watched him climb them, each step heavy with defeat. Part of me felt satisfaction. Part of me just felt sad. While he packed, I called Simone. It's done, I told her. He knows everything. He's leaving tonight. How are you feeling? She asked. Like I just woke up from a 9-year nightmare. You're so strong, Charlotte. I'm proud of you. I don't feel strong. I feel broken. Broken things heal, Simone said gently. They just heal into a different shape, sometimes a better one. After we hung up, I stood in the living room of my house. The house Marcus and I had bought together, decorated together, planned our future in together. Every corner held a memory. Most of them were lies now. But it was still my house, my life, my future. Marcus came downstairs 45 minutes later with 2 suitcases and a box. He stopped at the door. I really am sorry, he said one last time. Goodbye, Marcus. He walked out. I locked the door behind him and watched through the window as he loaded his car and drove away. Then I poured myself a large glass of wine, sat on the couch, and let myself cry for the last time over a man who never deserved my tears. The story broke nationally 3 days later. I was in my kitchen making coffee when Simone called, her voice urgent. Charlotte, turn on the news, right now. I grabbed the remote and turned on the TV. There it was, on the morning news. Local investment firm owner arrested in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. Affair with billionaire's daughter, part of elaborate corporate plot. They had everything. Photos of Marcus being led out of a hotel in handcuffs. Images of his office with federal agents carrying out boxes. And worst of all, they had our wedding photo, pulled from social media, with the caption, "Wife files for divorce amid scandal." My face was on national television. "Oh God," I whispered. The reporter's voice continued. Marcus Pierce, 42, allegedly embezzled over $1.3 million from client accounts over a 3-year period. The scheme came to light when his wife, Charlotte Pierce, discovered he was having an affair with Lauren Chen, daughter of real estate mogul Richard Chen. Sources say the affair was part of a larger corporate espionage plot orchestrated by Richard Chen's brother, Thomas Chen, who was also arrested yesterday. They showed footage of Thomas Chen shouting at reporters, claiming he was innocent, that this was a family vendetta. Then they cut to a statement from Richard Chen's spokesperson. Mr. Chen is cooperating fully with authorities and is appalled by his brother's actions. The Chen family extends their deepest sympathies to Mrs. Pierce and the victims of Mr. Pierce's fraud. My phone started ringing, then it didn't stop. Reporters, old friends I hadn't talked to in years, distant relatives. Everyone wanted to know if I had a comment, if I knew what was happening, if I was okay. I turned off my phone. For the next week, I became a prisoner in my own home. News vans camped outside. Photographers tried to get shots of me through the windows. Every time I checked social media, there were new articles, new theories, new people picking apart my life. Some portrayed me as the wronged wife, a victim deserving sympathy. Others suggested I must have known, must have been complicit somehow. The cruelest comments came from people who blamed me for not being enough to keep my husband faithful. Maybe if she'd paid more attention to him, he wouldn't have strayed, one comment read. I made the mistake of reading the replies. Hundreds of people debating my worth as a wife, as a woman, as a human being. I stopped looking. Patricia called every day with updates. The legal proceedings were moving forward. Marcus had hired a lawyer, some high-powered attorney from New York who specialized in white-collar crime. They were mounting a defense, claiming Marcus was the victim of Thomas Chen's manipulation. He's trying to paint himself as a naive businessman who got tricked, Patricia told me. His lawyer is arguing that Thomas coerced him, that the offshore accounts were Thomas's idea. That's a lie. I saw the emails. Marcus initiated contact with Thomas. We know, we have the evidence, but his lawyer is going to try everything. You need to be prepared for this to get ugly. It got uglier than I imagined. Marcus's defense team subpoenaed our financial records, my phone records, even my emails. They were looking for anything they could use to discredit me, to suggest I was somehow involved or that I'd known about the fraud. They found nothing because there was nothing to find. But the invasion of privacy was devastating. Then they went after my character. Marcus's lawyer gave an interview suggesting that our marriage had been troubled for years, that I was controlling and cold, that Marcus had sought comfort elsewhere because I'd emotionally abandoned him. I watched that interview sitting in Richard Chen's office. I'd been spending more time there, working with his legal team, preparing for the trials, both criminal for Marcus and Thomas and civil divorce proceedings. He's lying, I said flatly, watching Marcus's lawyer spin his fiction. None of that is true. We know, Richard said. He'd been surprisingly present through all of this, checking in regularly, making sure I had what I needed. It's a desperate strategy. It won't work. It doesn't matter if it works legally. People believe what they want to believe. Half the country already thinks I'm either a fool or a villain. Richard turned off the TV. The public has a short memory. Next week there'll be another scandal, but the legal consequences, those last. Marcus is going to prison, Charlotte. No amount of character assassination changes that. What about Thomas? Thomas is fighting harder. He has more resources, more connections, but he made a critical mistake. He underestimated how much evidence we'd find. The digital trail is damning. Lauren appeared in the doorway, hesitant. Mrs. Pierce, do you have a minute? I'd seen Lauren a few times since Paris. She looked different, older, more serious. The carefree girl was gone, replaced by someone who'd learned hard lessons. Of course, I said. She came in and sat down, twisting her hands nervously. I wanted to tell you that I'm going to testify at the trial. My lawyer said I don't have to, that I could plead the fifth, but I want to. I want to tell them everything Marcus said, everything Uncle Thomas did. I want to help put them both away." "That's brave of you," I said. "It's the least I can do. This whole thing. It destroyed so many lives. Your marriage. Those families whose money Marcus stole. My relationship with my dad was already complicated, and now—" She glanced at Richard, who was carefully not looking at us. "I just want to make it right." "Lauren, can I ask you something?" I said. "Did you really love him, Marcus?" She thought about it. "I thought I did. He made me feel special, like I was the only person in the world who mattered. Now I realize that was just manipulation. He was good at making people feel important. That's how he got his clients to trust him too." She was right. Marcus had been charming, attentive, good at reading people and giving them what they needed. I'd fallen for it too. "I hope you find someone who actually deserves you," I told Lauren. "Someone honest." "I'm not looking for anyone right now," she said. "I'm focusing on myself, therapy mostly. And my dad helped me get a job interview at that company you recommended. Not because of his name. I'm using my mom's maiden name for the application. I want to earn it on my own." After she left, Richard looked at me. "You're kinder to her than most people would be." "Being cruel doesn't help anyone. She's not my enemy. She's just another person Marcus hurt." "Still, it shows character." We worked for another hour, reviewing deposition transcripts, preparing for my own testimony. Then Richard's assistant brought in dinner, takeout from a Thai place nearby. "You don't have to keep feeding me," I said as we unpacked containers of pad Thai and curry. "You don't eat enough," he observed. "You've lost weight since this started." "How would you know?" "I notice things. It's how I built my business." We ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then Richard said, "Can I ask you something personal?" "I think we're past the point of formality." "What are you going to do after this is over? After the trials, after the divorce is final?" I'd been asking myself the same question. "I don't know. Start over, I guess. I'll have the house once everything's settled. My design business is still intact. Maybe I'll travel. I've never been to Paris." The irony of that statement hung in the air. "You should go," Richard said. "Not to the places they went. Go to the real Paris. The quiet cafes, the hidden gardens, the places tourists don't see." "You sound like you know it well." "My late wife was French. We spent a lot of time there before she passed." I hadn't known he was a widower. "I'm sorry, I didn't realize." "It was 8 years ago. Cancer, very fast, very cruel." He set down his fork. "That's how I know what betrayal feels like. Not infidelity, but feeling like life betrayed you, like the universe broke a fundamental promise." "How did you get through it?" "Badly at first. I threw myself into work, pushed everyone away, including Lauren. She was 15, and she'd just lost her mother, and instead of being there for her, I buried myself in deals and acquisitions." He looked regretful. "That's why my relationship with her is so complicated. I failed her when she needed me most." "You're here for her now." "I'm trying. This situation, horrible as it is, gave us a chance to reconnect. She's talking to me again. Really talking, not just surface conversation." "Then maybe something good came from something terrible." "Maybe." He looked at me thoughtfully. "You're going to be okay, Charlotte. Better than okay. You're the kind of person who lands on their feet." I wanted to believe him. The next day, I did something I'd been avoiding. I went to visit one of Marcus's clients, an elderly couple named the Hendersons. They'd lost over $100,000 to Marcus's scheme, a significant portion of their retirement savings. Their daughter had called me, surprisingly kind, asking if we could meet. "My parents don't blame you," she'd said. "They want you to know that." I met them at their modest home in a retirement community. Mrs. Henderson made tea. Mr. Henderson sat in his recliner, looking tired. "Thank you for seeing me," I said. "I'm so sorry for what Marcus did. I had no idea." "We know, dear," Mrs. Henderson said gently. "We've been following the news. You're a victim too. But you lost your money, your security." "We'll be okay," Mr. Henderson said, though his voice wavered. "We'll have to adjust our plans, be more careful, but we have our health, our family. We'll manage." "The federal recovery program should return most of what was stolen," their daughter added. "It'll take time, but it's not a complete loss." Still, sitting in their living room, seeing the strain on their faces, the weight of what Marcus had done hit me differently. It wasn't abstract anymore. These were real people with real lives he'd damaged. "I'm testifying against him," I said. "At the trial, I want you to know that I'm doing everything I can to make sure he pays for this." Mrs. Henderson reached over and patted my hand. "You're a good person, Charlotte. Don't let his actions make you doubt that." I left their house in tears. Not for Marcus, not for my marriage, but for all the people whose lives had been upended by one man's greed and selfishness. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the Hendersons, about all the other clients, about Lauren, about myself. So many casualties in Marcus's wake. At 2 a.m., I got out of bed and did something I should have done weeks ago. I wrote a letter. Not to Marcus. I had nothing to say to him anymore. But to myself, to the woman I'd been and the woman I was becoming. "Dear Charlotte," I wrote, "you trusted someone who didn't deserve it. You built a life on a foundation of lies you didn't know existed. None of that is your fault. You were loyal and loving and true. He was the one who failed, not you, never you. And when this is over, you're going to build something new, something real. Something that can't be taken away because it's built on your own strength, not someone else's promises. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to be free." I folded the letter and put it in my nightstand drawer. Someday, when I was stronger, I'd read it again and remember this moment. The moment I chose myself. The trial began on a cold Monday in October, 6 months after that devastating day when I'd found the Paris confirmation email. 6 months that felt like a lifetime. The courthouse was surrounded by media. I arrived with Patricia and 2 security guards Richard had insisted I use. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. I kept my head high and my expression neutral, just like Patricia had coached me. Inside, the courtroom was already packed. I saw Marcus at the defense table with his legal team. He looked thinner, older. He'd aged years in months. When our eyes met, he looked away first. Good. The prosecution's case was thorough and damning. They presented the offshore accounts, the falsified records, the client testimonies. They showed emails between Marcus and Thomas Chen, proving conspiracy. They brought in forensic accountants who explained exactly how Marcus had stolen the money and hidden it. Then they called Lauren to the stand. She wore a simple black suit, her hair pulled back, no makeup except what was necessary. She looked young and scared but determined. The prosecutor walked her through everything. How Marcus had hired her, how the relationship had developed, how he'd pursued her romantically while lying about being married. "Did Mr. Pierce ever mention his wife to you?" the prosecutor asked. "No, he told me he was divorced, that he'd been single for 2 years. He said he lived alone in a downtown apartment." "Did you ever see this apartment?" "No, he always said it was being renovated, that it was a mess. We always went to hotels." "And the trip to Paris, whose idea was that?" "Marcus's. He said he wanted to take me somewhere special, that I deserved to see the world." The defense attorney, a sharp-eyed man named Callahan, cross-examined her aggressively. "Isn't it true, Ms. Chen, that you knew exactly who your father was when you took this job?" "Of course, but I got the job on my own merits." "And isn't it true that your uncle, Thomas Chen, suggested you apply to Marcus Pierce's firm?" Lauren hesitated. "He mentioned that they were hearing, but I didn't know why. I didn't know about any plan." "How convenient. A young, beautiful woman from a powerful family just happens to get a job at a small investment firm, just happens to catch the boss's eye, just happens to go along with an expensive trip to Paris. And you expect this court to believe you were just an innocent bystander." "I was," Lauren's voice rose. "I didn't know he was married. I didn't know about the money. I thought," her voice cracked, "I thought he cared about me." Callahan's expression softened slightly, but his voice remained sharp. Or perhaps you're protecting your father by claiming ignorance. Perhaps this entire scheme was orchestrated by Richard Chen, and you're all covering it up. Objection, the prosecutor shot to his feet. Counsel is testifying, not questioning. Sustained, the judge said. Mr. Callahan, stick to questions. But the damage was done. Callahan had planted doubt, suggested a different narrative. I could see some jury members looking thoughtful, uncertain. When it was my turn to testify 2 days later, I was terrified. Patricia had prepared me extensively, but nothing could fully ready you for sitting in a witness box with everyone staring at you, judging you, picking apart every word. The prosecutor started gently, establishing timeline and facts. When we were married, what I knew about Marcus's business, when I first became suspicious. Can you describe the moment you discovered the affair? She asked. I took a breath. I found an email confirmation for a trip to Paris, for 2 people. My husband had told me he was going to Singapore for business. When I looked further, I found messages between him and Lauren Chen. That's when I knew. How did that make you feel? Devastated, betrayed, like my entire marriage had been a lie. What did you do next? I hired a private investigator. I needed to know the truth, all of it. That's when I discovered the financial fraud, the offshore accounts, everything. The prosecutor introduced evidence, screenshots I'd taken, bank statements, phone records. Each piece felt like reliving the nightmare. Then came Callahan's cross-examination. Mrs. Pierce, you claim you knew nothing about your husband's business dealings. Is that correct? I knew the basics, but Marcus handled the finances. You never asked questions, never wondered where the money was coming from. I trusted my husband. Trusting or willfully ignorant? His tone was sharp. You lived in a $500,000 home, drove luxury cars, took expensive vacations. You never thought to question how a small investment firm afforded all that. My husband's business was successful. Or so you thought. But isn't it true that you had access to the accounts, that you could have discovered the fraud at any time if you'd bothered to look? I had access, but I didn't know what to look for. I'm not a forensic accountant. How convenient. And this sudden discovery of the affair, right when federal investigators were starting to circle. Interesting timing, wouldn't you say? I don't understand what you're suggesting. I'm suggesting, Mrs. Pierce, that perhaps you knew more than you're admitting. Perhaps you discovered the investigation and decided to play the wronged wife to save yourself. Rage flashed through me. That's absurd. I had no idea. No further questions. I stepped down from the witness stand, shaking with anger and humiliation. Patricia met me outside the courtroom. You did great, she said. He was trying to rattle you, but you held steady. He basically accused me of being complicit. It's a desperate strategy. The evidence doesn't support it. The jury will see through it. I wanted to believe her. Richard was waiting in the hallway. He'd attended every day of the trial, sitting in the back, a silent presence of support. That lawyer is a snake, he said bluntly. He's doing his job, I said, though I agreed with Richard's assessment. His job is to free a guilty man by destroying innocent people. There's a difference between zealous defense and cruelty. Over the next 2 weeks, the trial continued. More witnesses, more evidence, more legal maneuvering. Marcus never took the stand. Callahan wisely kept him silent. Thomas Chen's trial was happening simultaneously in another courtroom. I didn't attend that one, but Richard did. He came back each day looking grimmer. Thomas is throwing everyone under the bus, he told me one evening over coffee. His lawyer is claiming Marcus acted alone, that Thomas was simply a concerned family member trying to help his niece's career. It's all lies, but he's selling it well. Will it work? Not if I have anything to say about it. I've provided evidence of every shady deal Thomas has ever made. The prosecution has decades of material. He's not walking away from this. Finally, closing arguments came. The prosecution painted a clear picture. Marcus Pierce, a man living beyond his means, had systematically stolen from clients to fund his lifestyle and his affair. When that wasn't enough, He'd allied with Thomas Chen in a scheme to create a scandal and profit from it. Callahan's closing was different. He painted Marcus as a flawed man, certainly an adulterer who'd made terrible personal choices, but not a mastermind criminal. He was, according to Callahan, manipulated by the powerful Chen family, used as a pawn in their internal warfare, and now being sacrificed to protect them. "Ask yourselves," Callahan said to the jury, "who really benefits from Marcus Pierce going to prison? Not the victims. They'll get their money back through federal recovery. Not justice. The real orchestrators of this scheme are walking free. No, the only people who benefit are the Chens, who get to protect their reputation by blaming everything on one small businessman who got in over his head." It was a compelling narrative. I could see it landing with some jurors. The jury deliberated for 3 days. 3 days of waiting, packing, barely eating or sleeping. Patricia told me this was normal, that it didn't mean anything, but every hour that passed felt like torture. On the 3rd day, word came. They'd reached a verdict. We rushed back to the courthouse. The media circus had only intensified. Everyone wanted to know, would Marcus Pierce go to prison or would he walk free? The courtroom was silent as the jury filed in. I tried to read their faces, but they were blank, professional. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" the judge asked. "We have, Your Honor." My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. "On the count of wire fraud." "How do you find?" "Guilty." "On the count of embezzlement." "Guilty." "On the count of money laundering." "Guilty." One by one, they read through all 15 counts. "Guilty, guilty, guilty." Marcus's face went white. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder, but he shook it off. I felt tears streaming down my face, but I wasn't sure if they were tears of relief or grief or just exhaustion. The judge set sentencing for 6 weeks later and dismissed the court. Outside, reporters swarmed, but I had nothing to say. Patricia gave a brief statement about justice being served. Richard's spokesperson did the same. I just wanted to go home. Richard drove me himself, his usual driver taking the day off. We rode in silence for a while. "How do you feel?" he finally asked. "Empty," I said honestly. I thought I'd feel vindicated or relieved or something, but I just feel empty. "That's normal. You've been running on adrenaline and anger for months. Now that it's over, the crash hits." "Is it over? There's still sentencing and the divorce proceedings and—" "Those are formalities. The war is over, Charlotte. You won." "It doesn't feel like winning." "No," he agreed. "It rarely does." Marcus was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. With good behavior, he could be out in 8. 8 years felt both like forever and not nearly long enough. Thomas Chen got 15 years. His empire, built over decades, was dismantled. His assets were seized to pay back victims and fines. Richard took no pleasure in his brother's downfall, but he didn't mourn it either. "Some people never learn," he told me. "Thomas always wanted what I had, always took shortcuts to get it. This was inevitable." My divorce was finalized 3 months after the sentencing. I got the house, half of the legitimate assets that remained after victim compensation, and a settlement that would keep me comfortable while I rebuilt my business. Most importantly, I got my freedom. The media attention faded, as Richard had predicted. New scandals emerged. The public moved on. Occasionally, I'd still get recognized at the grocery store or a coffee shop, but mostly life returned to something like normal. Except nothing was normal anymore. I was different now. I threw myself into work, taking on new design clients, expanding my business. I redecorated my house, erasing Marcus's presence room by room. New furniture, new colors, new energy. I started therapy, working through the betrayal and the trauma. My therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Sarah, helped me understand that healing wasn't linear, that some days I'd feel strong and others I'd feel shattered, and both were okay. I reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with during my marriage. I took a painting class. I adopted a dog, a rescue golden retriever named Murphy who became my constant companion. And slowly, painfully, I started to feel like myself again. Not the woman I was before Marcus, that Charlotte was gone forever, but a new version, stronger, wiser, more careful but also more open. Richard Chen became an unexpected friend. We'd meet for coffee every few weeks, talking about business, life, everything and nothing. He gave me advice on investments, helping me grow the money from the settlement. I gave him advice on reconnecting with Lauren, who was thriving in her new job and slowly rebuilding her relationship with her father. "She asked about you," Richard told me one day, 6 months after the trial. "She wants to know if you'd be willing to meet for lunch." "Does she need something?" "I think she needs closure, or maybe permission to move on without guilt. You're the only one who can give her that." I thought about it. Lauren had testified, had helped put Marcus away. She'd been manipulated too, used by both Marcus and her uncle. Did I still harbor resentment? A little, but not enough to deny her peace. "I'll meet with her," I said. We met at a quiet restaurant the following week. Lauren looked healthy, more mature. She'd cut her hair short, started dressing more professionally. She looked like she'd grown up in the past year. "Thank you for seeing me," she said nervously after we'd ordered. "Of course." I wanted to apologize again. "I know I've said it before, but I need you to know that I really am sorry. What I did, even unknowingly, hurt you terribly. I think about that every day." "I know you're sorry, Lauren. I forgave you a long time ago." She looked surprised. "You did." "You were young and manipulated. Marcus was the one who made vows to me, who betrayed me. You didn't owe me anything." He did. Still, I should have asked more questions, should have been smarter. We all should have been smarter. Now I'm learning to fill my own voids, to be complete on my own. She smiled. My therapist would be proud of that sentence. I laughed, mine too. Before we parted, Lauren said, "Can I ask you something? How did you do it? How did you stay so strong through everything?" "I wasn't strong," I said. "I was terrified and broken and angry, but I decided that Marcus didn't get to destroy me. He'd taken enough. He didn't get to take my future too. I want to be like that, strong like you." "You already are. You're here, aren't you? You're building a life doing the work. That's strength." After lunch, I sat in my car for a while, processing. A year ago, the idea of having a friendly lunch with my husband's mistress would have been unthinkable. Now it felt like closure, like the final page of a chapter I was ready to finish. That evening, Richard called. "Lauren said lunch went well." "It did. She's doing really well, Richard. You should be proud." "I am, thanks to you partly. You didn't have to be kind to her." "Kindness doesn't cost me anything. Hatred would have." "That's very wise." He paused. "Charlotte, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Would you have dinner with me? Not business, not about the case or our kids, just dinner. Two people who have been through something difficult and came out the other side." I was quiet for a moment, processing. "Are you asking me on a date, Richard?" "I don't know, maybe. I'm apparently very bad at this. My wife was the last person I dated, and that was 40 years ago." I couldn't help but smile. Confident, powerful Richard Chen, nervous about asking someone to dinner. "I'd like that," I said, "but let's take it slow. I'm still figuring out who I am as a single person." "Slow is good. Slow is smart. How about next Friday?" "Friday works." We hung up and I sat there feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time, hopeful. Not about Richard necessarily, though he was a good man, but hopeful about the future in general, about the possibility that life after Marcus could be not just survivable, but actually good. The next few months were a time of transformation. I traveled to Paris, finally, where I wandered the streets Richard had recommended and felt free for the first time in years. To Italy, where I took a cooking class and ate pasta overlooking the Mediterranean. To Japan, where I walked through quiet temples and learned about the art of kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with gold, making the breaks part of the beauty. That concept stuck with me. My life had been shattered, but I was rebuilding it, and maybe the cracks would make me more beautiful, not less. Richard and I continued to see each other. Slowly, carefully, we built something that was friendship first, with the possibility of more hovering in the future. He understood my hesitation, my need for independence. He'd been through his own loss and knew that healing took time. "I'm not trying to fix you," he told me one evening over wine at his place. "You're not broken, you're recovering, there's a difference." What if I'm always going to have trust issues? What if I can never fully believe in someone again? Then we work with that. "Charlotte, I'm not Marcus. I'm not going to lie to you or betray you. If you need transparency, I'll give you transparency. If you need space, I'll give you space. We'll figure it out together." It wasn't a declaration of love. It was better. It was a promise of partnership, of respect, of seeing me as a whole person with valid fears and needs. 1 year after the trial, I held a party at my house. Not a big affair, just close friends, Simone and her family, a few clients who'd become friends, Dr. Sarah and Richard and Lauren. Standing in my living room, watching people laugh and talk, eating food I'd cooked in the kitchen I'd renovated, surrounded by artwork I'd chosen and furniture I loved, I felt something click into place. This was my life, not the one I'd planned, not the fairy tale I'd believed in, but mine, built on truth, on strength, on my own choices. Simone found me in the kitchen, refilling wine glasses. "You look happy," she observed. "I am. Is that weird, after everything that happened?" "It's not weird. It's victory. Marcus tried to destroy you, and instead, you destroyed his plans and built something better. I couldn't have done it without help. Without you, without Richard, without everyone. You could have. You're stronger than you think, but I'm glad you didn't have to do it alone." Later that night, after everyone had left except Richard, who was helping me clean up, I stood on my back deck looking at the stars. Richard joined me, handing me a glass of wine. "Thank you for tonight," he said. "For including Lauren and me, I know it's not conventional. Nothing about my life is conventional anymore. I'm okay with that." "Are you really? Okay, I mean." I thought about it honestly. Most days, yes. Some days I'm still angry about the time I lost, the trust that was broken, but I'm not stuck there anymore. I'm moving forward. "Forward looks good on you." I smiled. It feels good too. We stood in comfortable silence, and I realized something. I wasn't afraid of the future anymore. Whatever came next, with Richard or without him, in this house or somewhere new, with my design business or some new adventure, I would handle it. Because I'd survived the worst betrayal I could imagine, and I'd come out stronger. Marcus had tried to break me. Instead, he'd freed me. And that was the greatest revenge of all. 2 years after I found that Paris confirmation email, I received a letter. It came to my house, forwarded through Patricia's office, with a federal prison return address. It was from Marcus. I stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. Part of me wanted to throw it away unread. But another part, the part that had worked so hard on healing and closure, needed to know what he had to say. The letter was 3 pages long, handwritten on plain paper. "Dear Charlotte," it began, "I don't expect you to respond to this. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need you to know that I understand now what I destroyed. Prison gives you a lot of time to think, to see yourself clearly without all the distractions and justifications. What I see isn't pretty. I told myself so many lies, that I deserved more, that you didn't understand the pressure I was under, that the affair was somehow your fault for not being enough. All lies. The truth is simple. I was a coward and a fool. I had everything a man could want, and I threw it away because I was too weak to face my own failures. The business was struggling. I made bad investments, tried to hide them, made worse choices trying to fix the first mistakes. Instead of coming to you, my partner, my wife, I spiraled into fraud and betrayal. I destroyed innocent people's lives. I destroyed our life. And for what? Money I never got to spend. A relationship built on lies with a woman who was being used just like everyone else. I don't expect you to care, but I want you to know that I see it all now. Every moment I took you for granted. Every lie I told. Every time I chose myself over us, I see it, and I'm drowning in the weight of it. You deserved so much better than me. You deserved honesty and loyalty and a partner who valued you. I hope you found that now, or that you will. I hope you've built a life that makes you happy. You were always the strong one, the real one. I was just a man playing a part. I'm sorry, Charlotte, for everything. I know those words are hollow and too late, but they're all I have. Marcus. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer in my office, next to the letter I'd written to myself 2 years ago. I didn't feel anger reading his words. I didn't feel satisfaction or vindication. I just felt distant, like he was a character in a story I'd read once, not someone who'd been the center of my world. That distance, I realized, was healing. I never wrote back. Marcus didn't need my forgiveness to find peace. That was work he had to do himself. And I didn't need to give it to find my own peace. I'd already found it. Richard and I had been officially together for 8 months by then. We'd taken it slowly, building trust brick by brick. He'd been patient with my fears, transparent with his life in ways Marcus never was. He gave me access to everything, his finances, his calendar, his phone. Not because I demanded it, but because he wanted me to feel secure. I have nothing to hide, he'd said early on. And I never want you to wonder or worry. Ask me anything, anytime. I'll always tell you the truth. It was refreshing and terrifying in equal measure. I'd spent so long with lies that truth felt almost too bright, too exposed. But I was learning to trust again. Not blindly, I'd never be that innocent again, but consciously with eyes wide open. Lauren had become, surprisingly, a friend. We'd never be close. The history was too complicated, but we'd found a comfortable distance where we could support each other. She'd been dating someone her own age for 6 months, a teacher she'd met through volunteer work. She seemed genuinely happy, more grounded. I'm glad we can do this, she told me over coffee one afternoon. Be in each other's lives without it being weird. You're important to my dad, and my dad is important to me. I want him to be happy. He is happy, I assured her. We both are. Good, you both deserve it. She paused, then added quietly, I ran into one of Marcus's former clients last week, Mrs. Henderson. She asked about you. My heart clenched. How is she? Good, actually. They got most of their money back through the federal program. She said to tell you that they're praying for you, that they hope you found peace. Tears stung my eyes. After everything, they were praying for me. If you see her again, tell her I'm okay. Tell her I found peace. I will. The truth was, I had found peace. Not the absence of pain or struggle, but the presence of purpose and authenticity. I knew who I was now in a way I never had before. I knew my strength, my limits, my worth. My design business had grown significantly. I'd hired 2 assistants and was working on projects across 3 states. I'd been featured in a major design magazine, not as the woman from that scandal, but as a talented designer with a unique vision. I'd also started speaking. Small events at first, women's groups, business conferences, talking about resilience, about rebuilding after betrayal, about finding strength you didn't know you had. It was terrifying every single time, but also deeply meaningful. If my pain could help someone else feel less alone, then maybe it all meant something. One evening, Richard and I were having dinner at his place when he said, I have something to tell you, and I want you to hear it from me first. My stomach dropped. Even now, even with him, that old fear flickered. What is it? Marcus's lawyer filed for early release, some program for nonviolent offenders. There's a hearing next month. I set down my fork. Do they think he'll get it? It's possible. He's been a model prisoner, apparently. Taken classes, stayed out of trouble. The system is overcrowded. They're looking for people to release. How do you feel about that? I asked. I don't care where Marcus is, as long as he stays away from you and Lauren. But I wanted you to know in case the press picks it up, in case you need to prepare. I thought about it. 2 years ago, the idea of Marcus being free would have terrified me. Now, I hope he stays in prison for the full sentence. What he did deserves that. But if he gets out early, my life doesn't change. He has no power over me anymore. Richard reached across the table and took my hand. You're remarkable, you know that. I'm just someone who survived. A lot of people do. No, you're someone who didn't just survive. You transformed. There's a difference. Later that night, lying in Richard's arms, I thought about transformation. About the woman I used to be, trusting to the point of naivety, dependent on Marcus's version of reality, small in ways I didn't even recognize. And the woman I was now, independent, strong, clear-eyed about people and relationships. I'd built a life I was proud of. I'd helped Lauren find her footing. I'd helped Richard reconnect with his daughter. I'd built a business and a community and a sense of self that no one could take from me. Marcus had tried to destroy me, but instead, he'd forged me into something stronger. On the 2-year anniversary of finding that email, I did something symbolic. I took the letter Marcus had sent from prison and the letter I'd written to myself, and I buried them in my backyard under a cherry tree I'd planted. What are you doing? Richard asked, watching from the deck. Planting the past, I called back, so something beautiful can grow from it. He came down and helped me pat the soil into place. That's very poetic. I'm feeling poetic today. I stood, brushing dirt from my knees. 2 years ago, my life fell apart. Today, I'm happier than I've been in a decade, maybe ever. Any regrets? I thought about it honestly. I regret the time I lost, the trust that was broken, the pain other people suffered because of Marcus's choices. But do I regret where I ended up? No, not at all. Even if you could go back and prevent it all, have the perfect marriage, the fairy tale. It was never a fairy tale. It was a beautiful lie. I'll take an imperfect truth any day. Richard kissed my forehead. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret choosing to trust again. I know you will. That's why I chose you. 3 months later, Marcus was denied early release. The judge cited the severity of his crimes and the number of victims. He'd serve at least 6 more years. I felt neither joy nor disappointment at the news. Marcus was simply no longer relevant to my life. He was a chapter I'd closed, a lesson I'd learned, a past I'd moved beyond. What mattered was the future I was building. With Richard, who'd proven himself trustworthy and kind. With my business, which was thriving. With my friends, old and new. With myself, the person I'd become through fire and pain and determined healing. One afternoon, I was working in my home office when I got a call from a woman named Jessica. She'd heard me speak at a conference and wanted to talk. My husband is cheating, she said, her voice shaking. I found texts. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm dying inside. I talked with her for an hour, sharing my story, offering guidance, reminding her that she was stronger than she knew. Did it get better? She asked finally. Does the pain ever stop? It gets different, I said honestly. Some days you'll still feel it, but it becomes part of your story, not the whole story. And yes, you'll be happy again. Different than before, but maybe better, more real. After we hung up, I sat for a moment, feeling grateful. Grateful that my pain could help someone else. Grateful that I'd survived. Grateful for the life I'd built from the ashes. That night, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, looking at my reflection. I looked older than I had 2 years ago. There were lines around my eyes that hadn't been there before. But there was also something else, a strength in my gaze, a confidence in my posture. I was 36 years old. My husband had betrayed me, stolen from me, tried to destroy me, and I'd not only survived, I'd won. Not because he was in prison, not because I'd found someone new, but because I'd found myself. And that, I realized, was the whole point. If you're watching this and you've been betrayed, if someone you trusted has broken you, I want you to hear this. You will survive. It won't be easy. It won't be quick. There will be days when you can barely breathe, when the pain feels like it will swallow you whole. But you are stronger than you know. You are more resilient than you believe. And on the other side of this nightmare is a version of you that's wiser, tougher, more authentically yourself than you've ever been. Don't let someone else's betrayal define you. Don't let their choices steal your future. Use the pain as fuel. Use the anger as motivation. Build something so beautiful, so strong, so completely yours that no one can ever take it away. And remember, the best revenge isn't destroying them. It's building a life so good that what they did no longer matters. My rich husband took his intern to Paris, thinking he'd gotten away with everything. Instead, he lost everything that truly mattered, and I gained everything I never knew I needed. That's not just revenge. That's justice. That's transformation. That's life giving you exactly what you needed, even if it didn't look like what you wanted. Thank you for watching my story. I hope it helps you write your own ending, one where you're not the victim, but the victor. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below telling me your story, or just letting me know where you're watching from. And if this video helped you, if it gave you hope or strength, or just reminded you that you're not alone, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, you're not broken, you're breaking through. And the best is yet to come.